Here. Okay, moving on, we have the minutes from hearings 3/16/2023 and 4/6/2023. We have a motion on those minutes?
I make a motion.
All right, I'll second it.
We got a motion and a second?
Commissioner Midgley, Commissioner Milas,
Yes.
Commissioner Rustaller,
Yes.
Commissioner Senga,
Yes.
Commissioner Grusky.
Yes. Moving on, action on requests for continuances or withdrawals. Okay, at this time, the public is welcome to address the Planning Commission on items of interest to the public that are not listed on the agenda. Anyone out there or online want to talk about an issue that is not on the agenda? Anyone on? Okay, no one online, no one in person. Moving on to action items. Consent agenda. Items calendared for consent will be approved in one motion without a public hearing unless a member of the Planning Commission or the audience requests the item be removed. Consent item 1, Development Agreement Amendment Number PA 2200244. We have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion?
Second.
We have a second.
Commissioner Rustaller,
Yes.
Commissioner Milas,
Yes.
Commissioner Midgley,
Yes.
Commissioner Senga,
Yes.
Commissioner Grusky.
Yes. Okay, motion passes 5-0. Moving on to item 2, revisions of approved actions for a previously approved site, approval number PA 090037 of Stoneham Vineyards. And I have a disclosure to make. I have several properties within a half mile of said property won't affect the decision. And do we have any other disclosures?
Yes, I personally know the Pennells. They're my brother's in-laws and have talked to them several times. Nothing that we haven't already read about.
Okay, thank you. And now we have a presentation from staff.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. The proposed project before you this evening is the revision of approved action. The site approval number PA 0937 to allow 36 annual events at a previously approved winery. The applicant is proposing outdoor amplified sound with 26 of these events. The project site is 16 acres in size and has a general plan designation of AG, General Agriculture, and a zoning designation of AG 40, General Agriculture 40 acre minimum. The project site is located on the east side of North Alpine Road, approximately 700 feet north of East Realty Road and the city of Lodi. The property is surrounded by agricultural uses with scattered residences. The project site is indicated by the red star and is located within close proximity to 3 residences, noted with yellow stars on the slide. The residences are located approximately 215 feet to the southwest, 250 feet to the north, and 450 feet to the south. This is the revised site plan depicting the developed winery. The project proposes event areas A, B, and C, which are labeled here in red. The applicant is requesting amplified sound in event areas A and B. Event parking will be located south of event areas A and B and exceeds the minimum number of parking spaces per the development title. Show you the parking is going to be right in this area. In 2009, the Community Development Department approved site approval number PA 0937 for a boutique winery without events. In 2020, CDD approved improvement plan number PA 2039 to allow daily small-scale accessory events and 4 wine release events annually without outdoor amplified sound. In addition to these winery-specific events, properties in the AG 40 zone may hold 4 outdoor special events subject to an approved zoning compliance review. These events may include outdoor amplified sound, but must be applied for on an annual basis. The applicant has hosted outdoor special events at the existing winery in 2020, 2022, and 2023. These events are not required to be placed on the winery event calendar because they are not considered winery events. The applicant has requested to reduce the total number of annual winery events to 36 per year. Additionally, the number of event attendees is proposed to be increased from 80 to 150 attendees at marketing and wine release events. The applicant is requesting to add outdoor amplified sound at marketing events, large-scale accessory events, and wine release events, which are 26 of the 36 proposed annual events. Outdoor amplified sound is only proposed in event areas A and B. As a recommended condition of approval, event area C would be prohibited from emitting outdoor amplified noise. In these changes, or if these changes to the permitted annual events are approved, the winery will be required to have a minimum of 40 parking spaces and 35 overflow parking spaces for a total of 75 on-site parking spaces as a recommendation in the conditions of approval. The applicant has proposed to provide 87 on-site parking spaces, which exceeds the minimum requirement. CDD received 4 letters of opposition from the property owner with the residence located to the north of the project site. Concerns were raised regarding parking, noise, accessory uses, trespassing, traffic, and land use compatibility. The opposition raised concerns regarding adequate parking for events. As discussed previously, the proposed events require the applicant to provide 75 on-site parking spaces. 87 on-site parking spaces are proposed, which exceeds the development title requirements. Additionally, a parking attendant will be required as a recommended condition of approval to ensure orderly parking during events. Concerns were raised regarding event noise exceeding the allowed level due to amplification. A noise assessment was conducted, and it was determined that the applicant will comply with development title requirements if the on-site speakers are configured as recommended in the assessment. This has been included as a recommended condition of approval. Regarding accessory uses, opposition raised concerns that the winery currently holds events without updating winery event calendar. As a recommended condition of approval, the winery is required to put all approved winery events on the county-maintained winery calendar. The winery has also held special outdoor events, and as noted previously, they are separate from winery events and are not required to be put on the calendar. The opposition also raised concerns about event attendees trespassing onto neighboring properties. Trespassing is outside the purview of the Community Development Department. These complaints should be directed to the San Joaquin County Sheriff's Office. The opposition has also expressed concerns about the project increasing the traffic on North Alpine Road. The applicant is proposing to decrease the number of permitted annual events from daily small scale and 4 market events to 36 total events, with a potential decrease of nearly 30,000 attendees annually. The project was referred to the Department of Public Works, and it did not meet the threshold for a traffic study. The project was also screened out from requiring an analysis of vehicle miles traveled. Lastly, the opposition raised concerns that the proposed use is not compatible with surrounding agricultural uses. A small winery with events may be conditionally permitted in the general agricultural zone and is considered to be a compatible use as long as it is consistent with the goals, policies, standards, maps, and applicable county plans. This photo was taken from the east side of North Alpine Road, looking southwest from the project site towards the nearest neighboring residence located across the street. This residence is located approximately 215 feet southwest of the proposed event areas A and B. This photo was taken from in front of the existing wine tasting room facing west towards Alpine Road. The grass area and parking area seen in the photo are proposed event areas A and B. This photo was taken from the northern property line adjacent to the event area C, looking northwest towards the property owned by the neighbor in opposition to the project. The neighbor's single-family residence is visible in the background and is located approximately 200 feet northwest of event area C. As a recommended condition of approval, event area C will not be allowed to have outdoor amplified sound emitted from that area. It is recommended that the Planning Commission approve the project with the recommendations shown on this slide and included in the staff report, with the addition of the modified condition approval 1F2 contained in the notes for this evening. Thank you. This concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you very much. Any questions for staff? Okay. Now if we can hear from the applicant or their representative.
Good evening, Chair Grunsky, members of the commission. Brett Jolly, I'm land use counsel for the applicant, the Stoneham family. My address is 3031 West March Lane, Suite 230 here in Stockton. Commissioner Roostaller, I heard they tried to lock you in the garage, but I'm glad to see you broke out and made it to join us at the meeting.
Well, I didn't know that they didn't want another roostaller in the basement.
I am joined tonight by the Stoneham family. We've got 5 members of the family that have joined us in the audience. We've got Kathy Stoneham, the founder of the winery, and her niece, Francesca. They run the operations at the winery now. In addition, we have Mary Dell Stoneham, who is Francesca's mother, Brian Kearney, who is Francesca's new husband. So he's been drafted in now that he's family. And finally, we have Patty Stoneham, who is Kathy's sister, have all come in support tonight. But don't worry, they're not speaking. We have a brief presentation for you. Again, thanks to your staff, Deputy Director King and Mr. Jobrack. They've spent a lot of time on this. In short, this is not a new winery. It's an existing winery, as you heard. It started in the 1979 when Kathy and her brother Mike bought the property, began growing grapes, and then in the 2000s decided to start actually making wine on the property with those grapes. They've invested capital over the years. They've started to do special events, and they're at the point now where the environment is ripe for them to come back and revise their conditions on the project to allow special events and amplified music on a limited basis. Initially, they had proposed up to 170 events per year, but upon receiving the concerns expressed by the Pinnells, we sat back and said, let's see what we can do to address these concerns. The primary concern being noise and music that they would get, and that was largely because music was coming from the area identified as Event Area C, which is a patio right off the tasting room. And that faces to the north without any buffering where the Pinnell's house sits. And so they worked to revise the site plan to make it so that the amplified music will not be in Area C anymore. It will be focused down on the southern side of the barn and by the tasting room, where you have building buffers there to prevent that noise from going. They've also reduced those number of events and agreed to additional conditions, including extra parking and parking staff for events. And I'm pleased to announce that as a result of that, I did hear from the Pinnell's attorney today that after Kathy Stoneham and the Pinnells sat down and shared some wine in the backyard on Friday, Kathy explained to them the changes that were being made, that they have decided to withdraw their application and are not going to be opposing this evening. So with that, I think we have got the neighborhood on board. You will see in my letter I submitted of the 3 residences that Mr. Jobrack identified in his report. One was the Pinnells. They're no longer opposing this. The 2 other residences or residents of those other properties have actually submitted letters that are now in the record in support of the project, that they support what's being proposed and the music with the conditions that are being placed on the project. So I think that this presents a very good balance of the type of wineries that should be put in the ag zone. I think it represents a good effort by the applicants meeting with those who have raised concerns and addressing those concerns in a reasonable manner. So I think we have a very reasonable application before you tonight and would ask that this commission adopt staff's recommendation of approval. Thank you. Any questions, I'll be happy to answer those.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone in person would like to oppose the project? Okay, seeing none, anyone online?
We have a participant online. If you wish to speak on opposition of item number 2, you may speak right now.
Okay, nothing. Would you like to do a rebuttal against yourself? No, not a chance? Okay, well then we're going to bring it back to the commission. And I'll just say, I agree with their counsel and the applicants. I think they did a really good job of working with the, yep, I guess, yeah, that's a good point. Does anyone want to speak in favor of the project? I'm going to re-bring it back to the commission. And yeah, so I think they did a really good job of working with the neighbors. We've really worked on the wine ordinance to make it accessible, to kind of expand what we've been able to do. I like they're not trying to go for the max, but also I've seen 2 wineries for sale in the past month. So just being able to have these events isn't, if you're a neighbor, it doesn't mean that they're going to have every event. It still takes money. It still takes a lot of risk on the part of the owner. So I think it's a very good project. I drove by there the other day. It's very clean. It's right up the street from where I go all the time. So it's a nice winery. I like the project. Anyone else?
I just copy that, what you said. I think it was a beautiful way, the nice way that it was handled by both parties, and I know you did wait for some time. I apologize for me being a little tardy today. I was stuck in the traffic. I just wanted to take a moment to say I apologize for the delay, but overall, coming back to the point that very well done. This is a very good example of when 2 people can get together and reasonably negotiate something, and it's a happy ending, so congratulations. We like it.
Yeah, I'll just add, there's so many times when we sit up here and we don't have an outcome that you were able to put together. And it does, I commend staff for working with the Stonehams and Mr. Jolly. And we had 4 opposition letters, and 3 of those opposition folks decided to come on board. So it really shows great cooperation and negotiating skills on everybody's behalf.
Okay, anyone else?
I'm also in favor of the project. I drove by and it looks like a very nice location. I'm so happy that I agree with everyone else that you were able to work it out with the neighbors. It's always hard for us when there's people in opposition. I was really happy to see you were able to.
Okay, I think that's everyone. Okay, Public Works.
Chris Halen, Public Works. I don't know if this is necessary at this point, but if the issue did come up about parking, we could suggest amending our conditions just to add a condition. It's pretty standard language. It just basically says all vehicular parking related to the winery shall be located on site at all times. So if there were any other concerns about that, it doesn't sound like it, but just something we wanted to offer.
I appreciate it. I think just driving by there and the layout of the road, I think they would all be on the winery, but thank you for the suggestion.
Okay.
Okay, and I think we've heard from staff. I don't want Mr. Jolly to feel too good about himself, so maybe we can get a vote, get a motion.
I would like to make a motion that we accept the revisions to the approved actions for the previously approved site approval number PA 090037 of the Stoughton Family Vineyards with all the recommendations that
Second?
staff is.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Commissioner Sangha,
Yes?
Commissioner Milas, Commissioner Midgley, Commissioner Roostaller,
Yes.
Commissioner Grunsky.
Yes. Okay, motion passes 5-0. Okay, moving on to item 3, appeal to the Planning Commission of minor subdivision number PA 230032. And I believe we will have, well, we'll wait for everyone, but we'll have a presentation from staff.
While she's working her way up, I'd like to introduce another new planner we have, Associate Planner Nancy Arroyo.
Welcome.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Chairman, Commissioners. The proposed project before you this evening is an appeal of the Community Department approval of minor subdivision number PA 23000032 to subdivide an existing 39.21 acre parcel into 3 parcels. Parcel 1 and 2 will each be 9.8 acres in size, and parcel 3 will be 20.4 acres. The project site is 39.21 acres in size with a general plan and zoning designations of rural residential. The project site is located on the east side of North Lower Sacramento Road, approximately 1,300 feet south of East Liberty Road in community of Collierville, south of City of Galt. The applicant's project site is outlined in red, and the yellow star indicates the location of the property owned by the appellant. The appellant's property is also located along the east side of North Lower Sacramento Road with additional frontage along East Liberty Road. This is where the project for PA 230032 is. This is the appellant's property. This is a tentative map depicting the 3 proposed parcels. Parcel 1 and 2 have direct access from Lower Sacramento Road. So this is the first one, this is the second one, and then this is the third. Parcel 3 will be accessed via a proposed 25-foot easement that will be 1,315 feet in length to the furthest point. This access easement will be subject to fire road standards at the time of residential development. On June 9th, 2023, the Community Development Department approved minor subdivision number PA 23000032 to create 3 parcels. On June 15, 2023, Steve Hiram submitted an appeal of the project on behalf of Antenna Development Company and Stonecliff Development Incorporation, which owns the adjacent property north of the project site. Antenna Development Company previously applied for major subdivision number PA 040074 in 2004 to create 54 parcels, a minimum of 1 acre in size, and a 5-acre designated remainder parcel. The project was approved in 2006 and expired in 2022. The current project applicant, Ernest Goodell, previously applied for major subdivision PA 0500467 in 2006 for a 34-lot subdivision consisting of 33 1-acre lots with a 1-acre parcel designated for storm drainage bond. The project was approved in 2007 and expired earlier this year. The 2 projects did not record maps, and the related conditions of approval are no longer applicable since both projects have expired. On March 2nd, 2023, Mr. Goodell applied for minor subdivision PA 23000032 to create 3 large parcels instead of 34 small lots. This project was approved by the Community Development Department on June 9th, 2023. On March 24th, 2022, Ventana Development Company applied for major subdivision PA 22000056 on the neighboring parcel to the north to create a 54-lot residential subdivision with a designated remainder parcel. This is similar to and effectively replaces expired PA 04000074. This project is still under review and has not been approved. Minor subdivision PA 230032 is wholly separate from major subdivision PA 220056. The two maps are not being processed together and are under two separate ownerships and applications. Parcel 1 and 2 of minor subdivision have direct access to North Lower Sacramento Road, while Parcel 3 proposes to utilize a private access easement that is 1,315 feet in length to the furthest point from North Lower Sacramento Road. Pursuant to development title, secondary access is required because this project is located in a non-agriculture residential area, rural residential area, and the access for Parcel 3 exceeds the 1,000 feet in length, unless this requirement is waived by the zoning administrator. There is no development title requirements to provide secondary access to non-project parcels. The zoning administrator waived the requirement for secondary access for the subject project based on the input from Woodbridge Fire District, confirming that the proposed single access is sufficient and will be subject to the fire standard roads. On-site water and wastewater are proposed to be utilized for any future development of the parcels. Pursuant to the 2035 general plan, parcels created in rural community that are 2 acres in size or larger can be served by an on-site water supply, provided there is no groundwater quality issues and subject to the provisions of the development title. Parcels in a rural community can also have on-site wastewater treatment. Construction of an individual domestic water well and an individual sewer disposal system under permit and inspection by the Environmental Health Department is required at the time of development. Ventana Development Company first appeal statement discusses an agreement with Goodell and claims that the project approval is inconsistent with the agreement. In 2014, Ventana and Mr. Goodell recorded a private property owner's water lease agreement to develop and construct public water systems to serve residents of 2 subdivisions that have since expired. The recorded document is a civil agreement between the 2 property owners to install 2 public wells and split the cost. This is independent of the Community Development Department's regulations and requirements. This agreement does not impact the proposed application or Community Development Department's approval. The county did not require nor participate in this agreement. Therefore, this agreement does not impact the county's ability to make required findings for minor subdivision number 230032. Ventana Development's second appeal statement focuses on the use of private on-site services for water and wastewater. Pursuant to the development title, if a parcel is 2 acres or greater in size and there is no public water system within 200 feet of a project site, an on-site well system may be used subject to specific provisions. Additionally, a soil suitability and nitrate loading study shall be submitted to the environmental health at the time of development, indicating that the area is suitable for septic system usage. All wells and septic systems must be reviewed and constructed under permit by the Environmental Health Department. As a result, on-site services are not anticipated to negatively impact any adjacent properties or adversely impact public health. This photo is taken from the west side of North Lower Sacramento Road, looking east towards proposed Parcel 1. The existing structures visible in this photo are proposed to remain. This photo is taken from the west side of North Lower Sacramento Road, looking northeast towards the project site. This photo is taken from the west side of North Lower Sacramento Road, looking east towards proposed parcel 2. The existing agriculture use will remain. It is recommended that the Planning Commission deny the appeal and uphold Community Development Department's approval of minor subdivision number PA 23000032 with the previously approved findings and conditions of approval included in the staff report.
Thank you so much. Questions from staff? Questions for staff from the commission? Okay, seeing them. Okay, so in this case, Ms. King, the applicant is the appellant, so I should say it as the appellant, imagine? Okay. So if we can hear from the appellant at this time?
Good evening, Chair, members of the Commission. I'm John Luberg. I represent Ventana Development Company, Aram Crabtree Suntag here in Stockton. Clients Norman Holberg and Frank Schmidt are here to answer questions if you have any more project-specific questions for them. I do have a handout that I would like to, with your indulgence, provide for the Commission. Details of several things that I think would be very helpful for you to consider in terms of sort of a larger policy issue here. I realize this is a parcel map, and your discretion is somewhat limited in that way. But I wanted to point out the larger picture of what will happen, or what potentially could happen with the approval of this map. Now, as you know, because the Commission is intimately involved in these things, the county has housing obligations it needs to meet under the housing element of the general plan, including about 640 units.
Thank you.
That need to be produced or at least be facilitated within the rural residential designation between now and 2035. When the housing element was approved, there was about 400 sort of approved lots that were designated as being sort of in the bag approved lots. Well, 80-something of those were these lots, this project that expired. And so, frankly, from a policy standpoint, what this approval does is create significant deficit from the expected number of homes that the county would be able to facilitate within the rural residential zone, and in fact would, going forward, create an even larger problem. And the larger problem comes from the map that you were described, that's on the parcel to the north. That lot has very, very challenging issues in terms of access. And the handout that I provided to you, this one with the colors here, will show you the floodplain areas, or the areas in terms of the inundation areas for the wetlands along the north and along the west side of that property. So what you end up with is a very narrow access point on Lower Sacramento Road, an access point that is sufficient for a single access. And in order to develop this site in any meaningful way, it is very likely that the county will require secondary access. The way that had been arranged before was through coordination with the subdivision on the map to the south. However, that having expired presents a challenge that it seems so simple. Just have some sort of access across the property line. We're not talking about something where traffic would actually go. We're talking about something just sort of a crash gate for fire department, something to that nature. Very, very simple requirement. That simple requirement could facilitate a substantial amount of needed housing units being developed within the county. Not facilitating that basically makes this parcel undevelopable, this parcel to the north. And when you look at when you look at the Commission's role in this, and you look at what the Board of Supervisors has done in terms of constructing county housing policy, It's a daunting task to get these units done. We all know that. Units in the rural residential area sometimes can be harder to do than others. The county has set up a standard of achievement in terms of the housing units that the county wants to achieve. Approvals such as what is before you today is the reason why these things don't get done. Essentially, you have one property holding another property hostage, so to speak, and the county, for whatever reason, deciding not to try to mitigate that. And what we would hope is that that would not be the case. What we would hope is that you would direct staff to try to figure out a way to mitigate. Certainly, when you look at general plan compliance, you have to look at the whole general plan, not just the one little narrow piece that deals with zoning. Which in staff's analysis, they looked at zoning and sort of said, zoning yes, general plan yes. Well, isn't that simple? General plan has a lot of elements and a lot of things that go into it, including housing. This approval right now will take an absolute huge chunk out of the county's achievable housing units for here to 2035. So what we would ask the county to do, and ask your commission to help facilitate through direction to staff, is to work with us in trying to achieve what would be a win-win situation. Access, so that we can then have a complete application for the northern parcel and help the county facilitate the production of housing units. Happy to answer any questions if you.
Questions from the commission?
Thank you.
So, can you explain why most of these approvals way before I was ever on the commission? Why did you let it expire?
That's a great question, and I don't have a direct answer for you. Mr. Holbert may be able to help you with that.
I'm Norm Holberg, one of the property owners here, along with my partner, Frank Schmidt, who grew up in Galt, and we bought the property actually from the Goodells that have this minor subdivision. No, the reason that it expired was simply the wrong market cycle. You know, sometimes you're ready our plan was always to get this property subdivided. We got a tentative map approved, then to sell it to a home builder, but the market crashed, and so we ran out of time. So we're back, we think, almost done with the new application. We submitted the required traffic study. We're not done, but we think we're very, very far along toward getting the 54 lots.
Let me follow up with another question. So have you and the Goodells tried any mitigation to discuss these properties and how you both want to develop them? Or?
Yes, we've exchanged emails with Ernie Goodell, our neighbor, and said that we're going to have a problem if we can't develop it this way. We think he has a problem with a private water agreement that is not the county's concern, but there's a private water agreement that says that he has to pay his pro rata share of this very pricey water system. So yes, we have attempted. We also point out the issue of access, and we've essentially hit a stone wall. We think it's a win-win to have had a project similar to what we had before, but yes, we've attempted it without success.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, Ms. King, so now we'll be hearing from the applicant. Is that correct? Okay, if we can hear from the applicant now.
Evening, Commission. My name is Raleigh Peterson. I'm an attorney in Gold River, California. I represent the Goodells in this matter, and in a state court action filed by the applicant or the objectors here over in Santa Clara County concerning the water agreement and other things. What I'm hearing is basically they want this commission to do an eminent domain and take their property. This isn't the right time or place for it. My client has a constitutional right in his property, and under the Fifth Amendment, 14th Amendment. If somebody's going to take his property, they've got to pay for it. There's been no offer. It's just basically, we're going to take an easement across your land, and that's the end of it. Now, they let a map that had been on file for 17 years expire. Okay, 17 years they had. The water agreement came after the two tentative maps, and it was predicated upon the tentative maps. Both those maps have expired. That water agreement is no longer valid, no longer tenable. Now, Mr. Goodell has a right to develop his property. It's properly zoned. He's made an application before the commission, and if he wants to do 3 lots, that's his business. If he's within that right as long as he gets the map approved. Their dilemma, which I hear, may cost them more money because he goes a different direction, but that's not his problem. That's their problem. So they've got 1/4 of a mile of frontage, Lower Sac Road. They've got 1/2 a mile of frontage on Liberty. And they're saying they don't have or can't get or can't engineer 2 accesses into the property. I find that hard to believe. It costs them more. But that shouldn't be on Mr. Goodell's back. Does anybody have any questions?
Questions?
One more comment on that, and to have a taking of this nature for private purposes, you'd have to frame that up as a spot Blythe, and there isn't anything here that would suggest that in that property. The fact that the county would like to see more homes developed, there's a lot of land out there to be developed.
Thank you. Okay, we will hear a rebuttal. There's one. Okay. We will bring it back to the commission then. Thoughts?
I just had a comment, may or may not be liked, but I guess there's time for things to be done in a timely manner, even though the market was, I'm nobody to say why you didn't do it, but listening to both sides, it feels like, yes, it's a headache and it's extra work for you, but at the same time, the gentleman has right to his opinion and his property where he can say no, and we cannot say, well, the housing is needed by the county. Again, that's county's problem. They will look for a space to create that housing units because that is supposed to be done by the county. If they feel there is a need, they will find means to do that. We couldn't be just telling a private property owner, hey, you know what, county needs this, so you do this. Being a private property owner, again, that's the beauty of this country. You have the full right to your own property and do what you want to do with it as long as it's not illegal. So my vote will be going with him that, he has a right to his property. We cannot dictate to him what to do and how to do it unless it was a matter of land use, which he is staying within his land use parameters. So that's what I had to say.
Okay, I agree. I think the appellant's argument falls apart a little bit when they're so concerned about putting a dent in the housing number. They had 17 years to do so themselves, and at least the applicant will put a dent in 3 of the housing requirements that we were talking about, the rural housing. So it's better than nothing, and that's pretty much it. What else?
Yeah, Liberty Road seems to be the answer. You got to come in, if you can't come in from the south, you got to come in from the north. So, did we look at that? How does this is already predetermined from before? Yes.
So the 2 frontages is on the appellant's
Yeah.
parcel, not on the project parcel that we're reviewing today.
All right.
So we will look at that as part of that project.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this project before you today just has frontage on Lower Sac, and it's just proposing 3 parcels.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else on the commission?
I think you know where I was going when I asked some of the questions. Yeah, I totally understand the market conditions, difficult. Investing and thinking that, certain projects will get off the ground. And say timing's everything, but the hard part for me is that everything it lapsed. Your whole project lapsed. Even if this started in 2007, 2008, there was a time, quite a few years, where you could have done something to at least show that you wanted it that much to get done. So I'm going to vote to deny.
Okay, I think we've heard from anyone. Do we have a motion?
I'll second it.
A motion and a second. Can we have a roll call?
Commissioner Midgley,
Yes.
Commissioner Milas,
Yes.
Commissioner Sangha,
Yes.
Commissioner Roostaller,
Yes.
Commissioner Grunsky.
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. Moving on to other business. So you can go through all the stuff, the notes that you didn't have to say. I mean, she was all fired. She had it all queued up. She was ready to go. She didn't get to have any fun. Okay, other business? Oh, shoot. Look at me. I'm skipping right over.
What is he
This is not my ego. I'm not trying to stay forever. Chair.
Okay.
Gosh. Okay, so I'm going to throw it to Zoe. We've done this a couple ways while I've been on here, and maybe she can explain our options real quick. For election of officers is what we're talking about.
Discussion, Nolan Dolan. Anyway, okay. So essentially, we've put this item on. Generally, this happens in July pursuant to your rules of procedure because we had a number of items and scheduling difficulties. We've gone ahead and moved it to tonight. It's not locked in on when it has to be done. You really have two options that you can do tonight. We can go ahead and open it up for nominations and choose that chair and vice chair tonight, and I'll assist you with the procedure if that's the goal. Alternatively, what the commission has done in the past, sort of had, I don't know, probably maybe 50-50. They've done an ad hoc, 50-50 they do nominations on the night of, where you could appoint by motion an ad hoc to include two members of the commission to have some discussions, make some decisions, and bring back nominations at another meeting. You can also, third option would be to continue, think about who you want to nominate for chair and vice chair, and ask us to bring it back on the next agenda. So those three options. If you do want to do the first one tonight, I can walk you through the procedures for that. Or if you want to do an ad hoc, we would do that by motion.
How often do we vote on this again? It seems, how long is it? A year, or is it 2 years?
It's every year.
Every year.
And
I feel like we skipped, I don't know.
Point of order.
So that it's always in July. I feel like it does get moved. So
Caesar. Julius, I was just talking about Julius Caesar. And if you don't you don't read the second half of the documentary, it turns out.
to avoid any Caesar-like activities, we do in our rules of procedure have a specific rule on consecutive terms. A member shall not serve as chairperson for more than 2 consecutive terms or vice chairperson for more than 2 consecutive terms. So Caesar, your reign will come to an end at some point, but it's 2 consecutive terms.
Joke's on you. I'm out of here in about a year anyway. So it's, so solved our own problem. Dang democracy.
Allowed to ask a question before you make this decision?
Absolutely. So this item is open, and now, you know, a lot of discussions about both procedure and then how we move forward is within the scope. It's what's been noticed. So if you have
I would like to ask the present chair and the present vice chair if they're interested in serving another year or not.
I'll second that. Make it simple.
Yeah, it's fine with me. My plan all along.
Well, I had a speech prepared. So now may I make a motion?
So procedurally, I'm going to go ahead and kind of walk through the procedure because we do want to follow, you know, Robert's Rules of Order-esque or Bob's Rules of Order, at least closely. So now that you've had the discussion in terms of procedure that you do want to go ahead and you want to move forward procedurally with doing nominations tonight, then what I would do is go ahead and advise the chair that you'll want to, you have a discussion. If you want to have further discussion, you can do that. If you're ready to close that discussion, then I would ask the chair to open nominations. And so once you open nominations, you can engage, you know, some more discussion on those specific nominations. Nominations would then be made. Sometimes part of the discussion is someone interested? So we've already kind of had that discussion. And then individual nominations are made. They're exactly like a motion, but they do not require a second. So you'd have nominations. If you have more than one nomination, we'll go ahead and make note of those, because then when we vote, which is again by motion, we would do that in the order of the nominations. So next step, if you complete your discussion now, would be to open nominations, accept nominations, then you close nominations, and we'll do that vote then after they're closed.
Does anyone want to discuss? I think we discussed. Do we? Because I mean,
Okay,
so
close the discussion.
yeah, I think and then go to a vote. You said, or
Nominations.
Nominations. We'll do a nomination.
Okay, now can I say it?
I don't want to blush.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
And
I would like to
ask
nominate,
one position at a time.
yes, I would like to nominate James Krunsky to serve another year as chairman of the commission.
Okay.
Any other nominations? And the chair would close nominations.
Any other nominations? Seeing none, we'll close nominations and have a vote. That would be a roll call situation, I believe.
Commissioner Milas,
Yes.
Commissioner Singha,
Yes.
Commissioner Midgley,
Yes.
Commissioner Roostaller,
I'm thinking. Oh, yes.
Commissioner Gretzky.
Yes. Okay, now we will go for vice chair. Nominations for vice chair. I'll nominate Commissioner Midgley. Any other nominations? Okay, then we will take a vote.
Close nominations.
Close nominations, roll call.
Vote, yes.
Commissioner Singha,
Yes.
Commissioner Midgley, Commissioner Milas,
Yes.
Commissioner Roostaller,
Yes.
Commissioner Gretzky.
Yes. All right, well, thanks. We could move that off the agenda. Awesome. Thanks, everyone. That was fun. Yeah. Moving on to other business. Let's do that. Okay, planning commissioners' comments. Great summer for everyone. I mean, it was a great summer for me, but it's great to be back with everyone. Good to see everyone, full house, so that's awesome. And that's all I got. Anyone else got any comments?
I just had a comment. So on a somber note, I know it's been many, many years. I've been doing a memorial every year for 9/11. This is my 21st year of doing it, hosting a memorial dinner or luncheon, and all the proceeds go to the local Tracy PD and the Tracy Fire Department, and I myself make a donation towards the FDNY, the Fire Department of New York. This year it's hosted on Sunday. Usually it's done on nighttime, but we're hosting it at a lakefront resort, which is in Tracy, 12 Lorenzen Road in Tracy. It's in the county. My good friend here, Christina, is helping me host it. Tickets are $100. Like I said, sponsorships are there. It's a good luncheon. It's an Indo-American luncheon. The police department buys a table. Everybody who comes in there buys a table, no matter who they are. All the elected officials, whoever come, everybody buys the ticket, because everything goes towards, 100% of the donation goes towards the fire department and the law enforcement, which is the police department. I just wanted to take a moment officially and publicly say thank you to all those people who have been supporting it from the last 20 years. I was going to stop last year, but nobody else stepped up. So I'm doing it again. It's an open invitation to anybody else who wants to take it up. I made a pledge that my event says 9/11 will never forget. A lot has happened after that. Since that, it's just my commitment to do it. So that's why I'm doing it again, with no regrets, but with pride and pleasure and with honor. Anybody who wish to come and attend, they're more than welcome. Christina takes care of the tickets. And again, it's for the law enforcement and the fire department, just to honor that day and thank you, to say thank you to all those who serve and protect us. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you for doing that, and I'll definitely support it. Okay, if that's all in the planning commissioner's comments, we are going to adjourn.
Well, next time we'll go ahead and do a script for elections. So thank you for bearing with my little.
you